conversation
Okay.
because,
How are you feeling about this conversation?
we'll talk about it, but we're definitely firmly in the phase of I have seen all of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so the memory reaching out to current, what I've discovered, and I think we're gonna see this moving forward, at least for the next probably 10 years, is a lot of these movies are very of the moment.
Very true.
And they don't hold up.
Agreed.
Okay, that is recording. And this is recording. So we are fantastic. Are you good? Do you need like a breath? Because you came like whirlwind here.
I just kind of came running in from the No Kings protest today, so.
Which is awesome.
Very cool.
Good for you.
All right. Thus the I have moxie. All right.
But you are good?
I'm good.
Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome once again to Ed and Kevin. I'm Daryl.
I'm Laura.
Would you like to do the clap this
I
time?
would. I'm feeling clappy.
Nice! That was nice and loud too. Good job.
Absolutely.
Alright, Laura, what are the movies and what's the year that we're talking about?
We are talking about the pictures from the 2000 Best Picture nominees that were released in 1999, and we are talking about The Insider, American Beauty, The Sixth Sense, Cider House Rules, and The Green Mile, and The Green Mile.
And The Green Mile. Alright, so I'm going to read off some other notables, including these, remember these,
Okay.
and then you're going to guess which ones were the top 5. So other notables that year, Three Kings, Star Wars Episode 1, Notting Hill, Toy Story 2, The Hurricane, the year that everybody thinks Denzel got robbed for his Oscar,
Yep.
Fight Club, The Matrix, Galaxy Quest, Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, The Thomas Crown Affair, the reboot,
Okay.
Magnolia, which I think was Tom Cruise's first Oscar nomination, where he played the minor character, Respect the Cop, that guy. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah. Whose first nomination though?
Tom Cruise.
No, because he was nominated back for Born on the 4th of July.
Oh, you're right.
And Rain Man, I think maybe.
Was he? We just
Certainly Born on the 4th of July.
We just did it, and I can't even remember.
Okay, that's why I was confused. Okay.
One of my favorite movies, which I revisited recently and unfortunately did not hold up in my brilliant mind, Cradle Will Rock.
Okay.
Tim Robbins, I think first movie that he directed, no, second movie that he directed.
Oh,
Wild Wild West, an epic failure.
Based on a TV show that I loved as a kid.
Eyes Wide Shut, and then Analyze This. So based on all of those,
Okay.
including these, what do you think made the top 5?
Star Wars Episode 1 had to be number 1.
That was the #1 movie of the year.
All right, I'm going to go with Toy Story.
Yep, that was number 3.
Sixth Sense.
That was number 2.
Ooh, I am doing good today.
You are.
The Matrix.
There you go. And then one more.
Oh, crap. I'm not going
Matrix
to
was
ask
number
you.
5.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you to read them all over again. Can I look at your list?
Well, then the answer is right there.
Oh, I didn't? Okay. Yes, it is, in fact. So, read off the last one I missed.
Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged
I
Me.
would have actually never guessed that one, to be fair.
I had forgotten what a massive, massive hit that movie actually was.
Yeah, me too. And it was very funny in its day.
Yeah. It did get old quickly, but.
Yeah. Very true.
All right. I always go alphabetical. Do you care?
I do not care.
All right. American Beauty shall be the first. It shall not be the second. It shall be the first.
There should be 2 more than 1. Yes.
American Beauty, written by Alan Ball, directed by Sam Mendes in his featured debut, directorial debut. Kevin Spacey, stars Kevin Spacey, Mina Suvari, Annette Bening, Thora Birch, Wes Bentley, Chris Cooper, and Allison Janney. It won 5 Academy Awards, was nominated for 8. I don't remember 3, it didn't win, but it won for Best Picture, so right out of the gate. Best Director, Best Actor for Spacey, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Cinematography. Go with some facts.
All right. First of all, the summary is, this is about a sexually frustrated suburban father who has a midlife crisis after becoming infatuated with his daughter's best friend.
Fair.
It's a bigger movie than that, but
Oh,
it's a
yeah,
good tagline. So fun facts, Alan Ball, who wrote this, at the time was writing television. He was a TV writer for Grace Under Fire and the TV show Sybil. and was asked to write a spec script. He wrote this one and 2 romantic comedies that whoever was looking at him thought they were crap and thought this was really great, and he moved forward with that. And then eventually went back to TV, where he created 6 Feet Under and True Blood, both 2 of my favorites. I really enjoy those a lot.
Yeah, 6 Feet Under was amazing, particularly for the time, all the different subject matter tackled, all that, and it was just incredibly well crafted.
Super good. And then the other one is a little bit of Academy history. So Annette Bening was in the lead for winning Best Actress this year, because again, it won a lot, until out of nowhere, Hilary Swank came in and won for Boys Don't Cry, which later, in 2004, the exact same thing happened. Bening was up for Best Actress, and I think it was Being Julia was her movie. Everyone thought she was going to win, and out of nowhere came Hilary Swank in Million Dollar Baby.
Million Dollar Baby, yeah.
And so she has now lost twice to Hilary Swank.
Okay, this is the kind of movie that you can get dive super into, pull apart. So I'm going to talk about this more in broad and then talk about performances and things.
Okay.
The first thing I want to say is that I did not recognize, I think this is only the second, maybe third time I've seen this. I did not recognize upon any time that I've watched it before how incredibly male-centric this movie is.
How could you not recognize that?
No.
Okay,
Hear me out.
right.
I knew that it was told from the male point of view. It
Right.
starts with a voiceover, and everything
Yeah.
is filtered through him, and you have some side stories. But I did not recognize when I was watching it how even the side characters and everybody else is more of the male version of them. That's the part that I didn't recognize.
Okay.
I honestly thought that I had remembered Annette Bening's character being a lot more, I thought she was a lot more representational of females, as opposed to just it's a man looking at his wife he's very disappointed in now.
Existing through his lens and then
Correct.
existing through her lover's lens.
And the daughter is the same, the neighbors are the same. I did not recognize, it was glaringly obvious upon this watch, and we'll definitely talk about that, because I think that's one of the things that ends up detracting from this movie upon later viewings. But I never recognized before how incredibly male-centric this movie actually was. I thought it was a much more rounded depiction of suburbia.
Yeah.
It is not.
It is not, yeah. So my experience with this is the same as yours, I think. I think this is maybe the second or third time I saw it, and I was trying to figure, I don't care for this movie, but do I not like it because, it's because of what it's supposed to be depicting, which is a little pervy and gross, and therefore the feelings I'm having are what they're trying to show to me. I tried to examine whether it was just the 2025 lens, and I did not like it at the time that I watched it, so I don't think that's it. But I also see that there's a lot about this movie to like and appreciate. There's a lot of pieces in here that are interesting and thought-provoking, and again, some of the performances, some of the themes that come out, but it is just so not for me.
I think this movie took a very firm stance, which I didn't fully recognize the first time I saw it. It took a stance. I think everything that the movie did supported that particular stance and the story that it was trying to tell. It was a very singular story. I think every character, every decision, the directing, the framing, the pacing, all of that supported what the director was trying to show us, his vision of a movie. I think all of that was successful. I think all of the components are hits. All of the things that we look for in the overall category for Best Picture, I think all of them did hit. I'm with you. I don't think this movie holds up later on. This exploration of the white, over 40 male going through some form of existential angst and trying to reconnect and figure out his own identity, I think probably because of, cinematic history, it's just hard to see that and enjoy that again, because that story's been told so many times.
It was very tropey.
Yes.
It was between what exactly as you laid it out, what his situation was, and the Chris Cooper character of I'm a closeted homosexual and actually hate myself, and so therefore I'm going to hate, what I think, who I think to be gay, even though it turns out that he's actually not. So I didn't care for that. And there was one other piece. The the whole Sunset Boulevard overlay of I will be dead by the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And it's trying to set it up as a who killed him, and the Chris Cooper piece just comes out of nowhere, and I didn't care for that.
I think at the time, however, 1999, when the movie came out, the idea that someone who was gay could be so self-loathing was not something that was explored in film before. I mean, it may have been, and I just may have missed it, but it was definitely not a known trope, that kind of thing. Nowadays, absolutely. I think in viewing this movie in 2025 through a 1999 lens is incredibly difficult because of everything that has come after this film.
I would challenge that though, because I think that because movies are a little bit more open now, that sometimes the only gay character you got was a self-loathing gay character. So I think it was actually more likely to be tropey in 1999 than today.
Okay, in drama, I may give you that. Definitely not in like comedies. They were always
absolutely.
the fun.
No, I'm talking drama specifically. I agree with you.
Yeah, you may be right on that one, and I may be just kind of putting blinders on. One of the notes, speaking of tropey, the first note that I put down is I never realized how tropey this movie is. I never did.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a couple more negatives and then I'll talk about some of the positives. Even when I watched it the first time, and I was a 20-something pretentious, angsty kid, the filming of the bag scene was just way over the top pretentious for me. Like
it really was.
And the concept of beauty being such an overwhelming thing, while that's a fine concept, in that scene his speech didn't work. It worked better for Kevin Spacey. It did not work great, but his speech about beauty and being overwhelmed by it was more fitting than this random filming of a bag and being so overwhelmed with beauty.
I agree with you. If he had actually focused like maybe on the dead bird, that, because I know we saw a little snippet of that conversation, but if the bag hadn't been there and that's what he was focused on, maybe it would have been more successful.
It just seemed so pretentious, even at the time. And I know a lot of people have defended that scene for what it is, and that's fine. You can have your opinion. This is fine.
But also, is it a pretentious 18-year-old's view of beauty?
And that's part of the argument that, when you are 18, you are overwhelmed with emotions and things are much more important than they are later in life, and that could entirely be what it is. But in the context of an overall film, something like that is a standout, you do have to kind of second guess, is it making a point that you want to illustrate? And I think it was just an unnecessary point.
Yeah. Go to the positives, or you still have some negatives?
I brought up the father being closeted, self-loathing doesn't hold up for me anymore.
Nope.
At the time, it was fine for me. Now, in retrospect, it's not. One of the things that I do like about it, and I think the film does a good job of, is every single person in this film is struggling to find out who they are, dealing with identity. Every single character is. Even if it's through the male lens, every character is still struggling with the idea of identity. And I think enough attention is paid to each of them that you do get that feeling, and it's not just one-offs, like the teenage daughter who just hates her parents for no reason. Like, there is attention paid to them and time spent with them, so you get a full understanding of that every character is going through identity. So I think that as a concept was handled well in the film.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. With perhaps an exception to the gay neighbors who seemed pretty comfortable and they were pretty comfortable, happy living their suburban life. So I did not see the search for identity with them. It was more they were catalysts for others' search for identity.
Right. It was just a way to understand the next door neighbor's hatred of the gay community. It did still make me chuckle when I saw it this time. It is a clever scene when he's like, "This is my partner," and he's like, "So what's your business? You said he was your partner." Like, the light bulb does not go off.
Yeah, because that is not anything he has been exposed to, especially given his military background.
So that still makes me giggle.
Yeah, no, it is cute. Can we talk about the Kevin Spacey performance?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, Kevin Spacey, asterisk, putting that on the shelf.
Separate the artist from the art.
Exactly. He was so good in this. He was so good in this. And I loved at the beginning when he was a doofus. And if he was my dad, I'd be super embarrassed by him. And he was kind of a loser and a doofus. And Then that dinner scene, like when he cracks, he goes for it 1,000%. And the dinner scene is actually one of my favorite scenes that I've seen of all the movies we've been looking at, because he is just done playing.
Yeah.
And you can see the mother and the daughter just do not know what to do with this guy, do not know what to make of him. And I really like that, being like, nope, I have shifted my world and this is now what I'm going for.
You can tell that this scene has played out many times before, where they're just basically getting something off their chest about their unhappiness in their own lives at him.
Yes.
And he's just not taking this anymore. Like,
Yep.
I think the reaction is definitely over the top, but when you reach a breaking point, that's what reactions are.
Well, exactly, and he's cracked. He is blackmailing his boss. You know, he has gone to work for a Burger King type job, and he is absolutely cracked, and it's showing in every facet of his life. And I like it. I loved his performance of. He's such a good doofus, and you don't have respect. And the audience doesn't have respect for him at the beginning. And then you can see how he's kind of gone on. There's definitely some problems with his character we'll get to in a moment. But his performance, I thought, was great.
Yeah, I think everybody in this, their performance is entirely what the character was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Some are better than others, but I think everybody lived up to the assignment that they were given. This is what I need you to be. Every person, even the minor characters, the gay next door neighbors, everybody did what their assignment was and did it competently, if not above average.
Peter Gallagher, the king of real estate.
Yes.
I knew who he was the moment he came on the scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep going. You got negatives.
I've got some negatives. So I think, one of the major negatives is with the character of Lester, because I like gray, complicated characters. So I liked that he showed so much humanity and sympathy towards his neighbor. Of, okay, this guy is losing it, and so I will give him comfort. And oh wait, okay, nope, that's not where I'm going to go.
Right.
But he turned him away with kindness, and I really loved that. But obviously his infatuation with Mina Suvari was so problematic. And I get that it's the main, kind of thrust of the whole movie, but what really bothered me was it never mattered to him that he was sexualizing a child. It ended up mattering to him that he was sexualizing a virgin. And so that difference bothered me a lot. And I think it was supposed to, and I think it was part of the, premise of the movie, but it bugged me that was never brought out as much as I think it should have been.
I agree to a point, and here's my slight counter argument to that. The entire process when he's rediscovering himself, he is around teenagers, he is constantly commented, when I was your age, more than once. Like, it is multiple times that he is putting himself back in that kind of mentality. So I think for the character, I agree with you, and I'm not trying to take anything away, but it's fucking creepy as hell.
So pervy.
But I think for the character, he had regressed in his head and was trying to capture his own high school youth, so that it didn't seem as creepy in his own head. Again, not justifying the behavior, just trying to give a film's rationale for it. Because that is set up quite a bit in this film, is that he is constantly putting himself back when he was happy in high school.
I can get there, but it just didn't help the character for me.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah. So I didn't care for that. And the other thing that I kind of did like, when again talking about performances, is or I guess thematically, is showing how people were putting forward this really kind of public face. Nobody knew what was happening behind the scenes. And again, Mina Suvari is a great example of that. Is she is showing herself to be this, like, woman of the world, very experienced, all of these things. Absolutely none of that is true. And I think that was meant to be a little bit of a surprise for the audience.
The only one who really doesn't, and again, we're going to take like the next door neighbors out of it, because they're very limited characters. The only one who doesn't put on a public face is the daughter.
Yes.
She is, because she every circumstance, she's slightly awkward or around somebody who is telling her to act a particular way. She's the only character who does not do that. All the others absolutely do.
Yeah. And then my last comment on this, and then turn it over fully to you, is Allison Janney is apparently aging backwards. Because if you look at her in this, she looks older than she does today. And I know that it was her character of being, doped up, depressed housewife, but I did not see in her what we will later see in Allison Janney.
Oh,
like,
no.
I had no idea from this, nobody would have any idea that she was going to turn out to be who she is.
And I had forgotten even that who played that
Yeah.
that role, because that role that role is
nothing.
a very, very tropey role. This is entirely what you are. You do not have, and we're not going to see emotion from you. We're going to see nothing but just
Yeah.
blank from you. That is your character.
Exactly.
And being the great actress that she is, she was able to pull that off with a little bit of depth in doing nothing.
Yeah.
She still had a little bit of depth there, but that character is forgettable, and I think that's by intent.
I do. It's disappointing when you have that caliber of an actress playing a
Yeah.
part that is so forgettable, but I certainly did not know in '99 who that person was and didn't care.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. I really have nothing about this. Like, this was a revelation going through, because I remember even with the Kevin Spacey of it all, this movie, I remember not being disappointed by it being the celebrated movie of the year,
Mm-hmm.
even against the movies that it was up against. I remember I'm fine with all of that. Everybody deserved what they got that year, and yes, I'm fine with this being Best Picture. In retrospect, I am absolutely not.
I thought it was a little overhyped at the time, but again, it could be the male-female lens
Yeah.
that maybe I just didn't care for it a little bit earlier. But the performances I thought were fantastic, and it does have, like I said, this movie is not for me, but it has a lot of really good things in it that I understand why it was popular.
For
the time.
I read a quote that said Steven Spielberg said it was one of the greatest directorial debuts he had ever seen since like somebody in the 50s or something like
Okay.
that. Which, with that, knowing some of the movies that Sam went on to do later on,
Sure.
and the depth that those stories had later, I think this was a great first film
Mhm.
for him to take swings at.
Was he the director that married Kate Winslet?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll give him a couple extra points for that.
Good choice in a wife.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so I have nothing more about this wonderful, 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 sarcasm intended, movie.
Understood.
So let's move on to the Cider House Rules.
All right,
All
go
right.
for it.
Cider House Rules. It was directed by Lasse Hallström from a screenplay by John Irving based on his 1985 novel. I knew the name, but I couldn't remember who that director was. So I went and looked him up, and I was like, oh yeah, this is why I enjoy this guy's films. What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Mm-hmm.
Chocolat,
Oh,
The
yeah.
Shipping News, and Salmon Fishing in Yemen.
Okay, I like all of those.
Yes, and they all,
Interesting.
and knowing that, they all have a certain sensibility and feel to them.
They absolutely do.
All right, so it was directed by Lasse. It stars Tobey Maguire, Charlize Theron, Delroy Lindo, Paul Rudd, Michael Caine, Jane Alexander, Kathy Baker, Kieran Culkin, Heavy D. Now, you know if you remember him.
I do, yep.
Kate Nelligan and Erykah Badu. You know what? I didn't do any of the things it was nominated for.
Okay.
Best Picture, obviously.
All right, we'll go with Best Picture. And actually, I know that Michael Caine won for Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, okay.
So this was his second.
Okay,
So I do happen to know that.
excellent.
All right, so the summary of Cider House Rules is during World War II, an orphan grows up under the tutelage of a doctor who runs an orphanage. However, he yearns for freedom and soon decides to leave in order to make a life for himself. All right, fun facts. And also American Beauty and this one are not on the AFI list.
Okay.
So a bunch of different stars were planning to be in the production since like 1991. So we're now in 99. And they wanted to make, this is a John Irving book, and so they wanted to make this movie for a long time. It started out, Matthew Broderick was attached to it,
Okay.
and then Ethan Hawke was attached to it, and then Billy Crudup, and then Leo DiCaprio,
Wow.
before they ended up with Tobey Maguire. Interesting.
And I don't believe Toby was really that well known at this point. This
No,
was kind
he
of
was
a
not.
movie that put him on the national spotlight.
Yep. So most of this film was filmed in New England. There was some in Maine, there was some in New Hampshire, there was some in Vermont. And so a fun fact that I just learned this morning is my friend Lisa, who did Arsenic and Old Lace with us,
Mhm.
her daughter actually tried out for one of the orphans because
Oh.
most of the orphans were New England local kids that tried out.
Sweet.
So I think that's interesting. And then the other fun fact is I absolutely thought I saw this movie at the time, and I didn't. I read the book. And there's a ton of differences between the book and the movie.
That's what I understand.
Yeah, so we can chat about that. But I'm like, oh yeah, I know that story. And then I realized I don't know this story. So I was really excited to watch it for the first time.
I have not read the book, so I just have the story of the movie to go on. And I'll be perfectly honest, I really don't have as much as I thought I was going to have to talk about this movie, having watched it again. Only the second time I watched it. I watched it the first time. I don't think I saw it in the theater. I think I saw it like the minute or the week that the VHS was available.
Okay.
I think people misremember what this movie actually is a lot.
Okay.
When you ask someone if they've seen Cider House Rules, a very common phrase is, "Oh yeah, that's such a cute little movie." Like, no,
it is not.
It's not a. It's framed and has that kind of overall feeling that you walk away from it. But it is not a cute movie under any circumstances.
It is not. I think it's a beautiful movie, but I don't think it's a cute movie. And the themes of this movie are harsh and sad and difficult. So yeah.
I wrote down that it tackles some very big issues: abortion, identity, decisions, responsibility, love, and it doesn't necessarily come down on any answer of those, but it does have the characters questioning and going through their questioning of these things.
Incest, don't forget that one.
Yep.
That's not usually a theme of a cute little movie.
Nope. That one I honestly almost put it as a separate one. I was like, no, because that's under responsibility. We're going to talk about that.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, so where would you like to start this conversation? What were your thoughts? Just overall, what do you think of this movie?
I think this movie took on a lot, and I think it was successful in the things that it took on. I think the pacing of it is absolutely fitting with with what the story is and what the movie is trying to be. If it was slower, it would not work. If it was faster, it would not work. The pacing of this and the attention that is paid at the times that it is paid is correct for what the movie is trying to tell. And it's not trying to tell some big story or some small story. It's just telling a story.
And it's not a morality tale either.
No.
It is, here's Michael Caine and here's what his beliefs are, and you understand how those beliefs were formed.
Yep.
And then you have Tobey Maguire, who has very different beliefs until he is faced with a situation where he really, those beliefs are tested.
Yep.
And you've got Charlize Theron, who I thought was fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
Again, kind of seeing what her life is going to be, going back to responsibility versus freedom.
Yep.
So I thought it was really, really well done. The Michael Caine character, and he in particular, the part is just, he is non-judgmental, first of all, which I think is incredible in his role and what he's dealing with day by day, and the things that he sees. He's kind, and yet he's an addict as well. So like you've got to wonder, does one come from the other? Like all that he sees and all that he has to do, does that happen? And some of these kids also, they just break your heart.
Michael Caine was, I think, by far, even more than Tobey's character, was by far the more rounded character.
Yes.
Because he is all of these wonderful things, but he's also petty.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a part that you can kind of forget because of his overflowing nature of how warm and kind he is to the people that are around him, until Tobey decides that, hey, I need to go check out the world for a little bit. And then he shifts and he becomes a petty little spiteful man.
He's angry because he's thinking, I've given my whole life to, first of all, this boy in particular, but to this place and to these children and to the women in this community, and I need somebody to take up the mantle, and I thought it was going to be you. And so he is, I think petty is the wrong word. I think he's angry. I think he's upset, and it comes out as perhaps petty behavior, but I don't think what's behind it is petty. Is he thinks that he is setting up this world to his successor, and when that doesn't happen, I think it's more fear of what's going to happen to this community.
All of that is true. His actions are petty.
His actions are petty. I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think about Tobey Maguire? Because I gotta say, I think he is the probably weak link in this movie.
So Tobey, and I wrote this as a note specifically to talk about, Tobey's always been an interesting actor for me.
Okay.
And I started just to think about actors overall in general. Most actresses that you see are very active That just the
Yeah.
job itself is a very active thing. You are reacting to things, you are, you need to show range of emotions. Toby never, the way he acts is never that. He is always passive. Even in the big roles when he did Spider-Man movies, he is still a very passive actor. And it's a style, it's a choice. I think sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think for this role, it does work for what he has to go through. Things have to happen to him and for him to reflect upon them. So I think for this role in particular, his acting choice works.
It didn't work so much for me. I agree with everything that you said of how he's doing it, but I think it could be because I've watched a couple of movies that he's been in right in a row, and it seems to be the same performance. So like the kid that he is playing here is the same kid he played in Wonder Boys.
Yeah.
And in that scenario,
And
he's supposed to be, and Pleasantville, that's the other one that I wrote down. Wonder Boys he's supposed to be stoned half the time, and that's the thing is he just appears a little bit spacey and a little bit stoned in a time when he's not supposed to be. So it's just, I get what you're saying, but it seems like every performance is the same, and so maybe that's why that unnatural calmness just did not work for me here.
And I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I can, and it's one of the major criticisms. And it took me a while to think about why his performances are so different than a lot of other performances, and that's when I came up with, oh, he's passive acting. He's not actively engaged in any scene that he is in. It's obviously a choice. I think it works for him in the movies, but they are very similar characters overall, just saying different lines in different situations, which is why I think that after he had his run, he kind of went away.
I think that's probably true. And actually, Great Gatsby, he's kind of like this too.
I don't think I ever saw that one.
Okay, with Leo. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I did, and that was instantly forgettable.
Even
though it's that was Baz, right? Baz
Yeah. So very surprising. I will say also the part of the day laborers, the apple pickers, Rose and her father in particular, that was a terrible shock for me when I again had read it, but I think I'd forgotten it. So when that happens and you find out what's happening to Rose, it's so well done though because it is such a shock. Because you have this man who, her father seems to be a very good man.
Yeah.
And he's a good guy. You can tell there's a violence to him, there's a hardness to him, but that you never see that with his daughter, and later you understand why. And this is going to sound wrong, but that's the kind of character I actually really like to see in film. I don't like those characters.
Oh yeah, no,
but
I
to
understand what you're
see
saying.
this character, it's kind of like when you look back and you're like, oh, I see where they put some of the stepping stones to his performance and what's actually going to happen with him, but I did not see that coming. I thought that whole scenario was really well done.
So I questioned whether that was a necessary part of telling the story, if it could be done differently. And I'm on the fence, so maybe you can help me out. So what we're talking about is obviously discovering that Delroy Lindo's character is sleeping with his daughter and she's pregnant.
Yes.
So that is necessary for her, not for her, but for Toby because Delroy Lindo's character is always like, what's your business, what's your business? And it's necessary for Toby to step forward and say, I'm in the doctor business.
Yes.
Something he's been denying his entire life, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a doctor.
Well, and it's not, I don't think it's even, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an abortionist. And if your daughter wants to take care of this pregnancy, I can take care of that for him. So I think it was less the doctor piece and more the, I will never perform an abortion, because he says that.
Right, and I think, yes, there is that. I think it's more of the doctor and the abortion is the end to his accepting being a doctor.
Oh, okay, interesting, because I saw those as two entirely different
No,
things.
I see them as related. But,
Okay.
so, all of that is necessary for him to have that moment, tell
Yes.
us on screen, have him go through that decision so that he can go and, when the doctor dies, take over. I question, though, whether it needed to be incest or if it could have been something else. Like, was the incest portion of it necessary to the story? Would it have worked with something else? Would it have worked that she, when they go down to Florida, she had snuck out one night and gotten pregnant and Dad just didn't know about it? Would that have worked as well? And I don't think it would.
It wouldn't have, in my mind, it's because, again, and I have this belief that Tobey Maguire was absolutely anti-abortion. I will never perform that. That's not who I am. you had to have almost the kind of perfectly innocent girl who needed this in order to go forward with the life. So it had to be rape or incest, or both in the
Okay.
situation.
And like I said, I'm still
Yeah.
not one way or the other, but I think it does lend itself more to have not only it be so jarring, so you do question a lot when that is revealed. And to his credit, Toby's character, who has never been confrontational, he immediately goes up and starts to question and basically berate
Yes.
Delroy,
Yes.
which is outside of his character.
Very
And
scary,
I
too.
think that was a necessary stepping stone for his character. So,
Agreed.
and the only way that would have happened is if Delroy had been the one. So I'm leaning towards that it's absolutely necessary, but I'm still hoping there's a way out just because I don't like it.
I think it had to be that way, and I think also, again, it's that you do not know what's happening under the surface of anybody.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. My super petty comment, because I have to make a petty comment on this, is what's her name? Charlize Theron. What is her character's name?
I don't remember.
Okay, Charlize Theron's wardrobe is not the wardrobe of a daughter of a lobsterman
Oh,
who
yeah.
has to pick apples on the side.
Yeah.
She has a beautiful wardrobe,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she has like dresses and sweaters and all of these things. That's the one thing that it actually took me out of it enough that I was going through my head, I wonder if Paul Rudd's mother is buying her clothes, because the socioeconomic, like themes were part of this story. And so it did not make sense to have her look
Yeah.
as beautiful and preppy as she did, and she could not have afforded those clothes as the daughter of a lobsterman.
Now that you pointed out, I can see it. At the time, I would because I
Yeah.
don't necessarily pay attention, but at the
Petty
time, I
girl
was just
thing.
like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, two more things I want to talk about, then I'm done. One, Paul Rudd.
Yes.
The man is obviously there's something in his genes. He just doesn't age.
Oh, there's a portrait in his attic somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no question.
But even back then, he's always been a good comedic actor, and he was slightly comedic in this
Yeah.
role, slightly. He was just more kind of like the feel-good friend kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually, even back then, showed depth and range, and he was a very well cast for this kind of minor role. Ends up being major to the story, but the role itself was
Yeah.
a minor role. I really
Agreed.
liked him, and I'd totally forgotten he was in it.
I agree, and I will see your Paul Rudd, and I will raise you Kieran Culkin.
Oh,
Because, again, he's just playing an orphan, but that kid is gonna be a star. Like, you know it in watching him, he grabs the screen, and so I was psyched to see him, and I had forgotten he was in this, and he had like 2-3 scenes, and you could see, especially when they were burying Fuzzy, you could see he was now taking on, I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
The kid's probably 10.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm part of the adult secret.
I have to take this role on.
Yes, exactly. And especially since Tobey Maguire's gone,
Yeah.
he is kind of taking that role as you're now my protege.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fantastic.
The second thing is, I am so super glad that this movie did not make the major mistake that a lot of movies set in Maine, which is to do the over-the-top accent.
I agree, but I don't know what Michael Caine was doing.
Well, it's established, and I'd forgotten it until
Okay.
I heard him say it. He's an immigrant.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, that makes me feel so much better, because
Yeah.
his was weird.
Yes.
It wasn't Maine, it wasn't New England, I don't know what was happening
And
there.
until we have
Oh,
that
that
speech,
makes me
he's
feel
talking
better.
to Fuzzy about parents and where people come from, and he mentions that he's
Right.
an immigrant. And I was like, oh, then your accent, and he said he was like Germany, but someplace else. So
Okay.
like, it's one of those accents that you can not necessarily pin to a specific location.
Yes.
So once I heard that, then I was like, oh, then you're totally fine, man. Because if you're trying to do some sort of weird version of a New England accent, you are not getting it, and it's taking me out. Oh, so you're an immigrant and you have your own accent on things. Perfect, absolutely fine.
I feel so much better about that, because I agree with you. I liked everybody else's somewhat accent, which was really none.
Yep.
Except for Michael Caine, so that makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
Because I totally
You
agree
can kind of
with
relax
you.
into the movie
Yes.
a little bit more.
Yes, I agree with that. The other comment I will make is, we talk about emotional manipulation, and
Yeah.
I did not think this was emotionally manipulative. It was a beautiful movie. I cried so much I got dehydrated, but it was not trying to be emotional. There were moments that were emotional because of what was happening, but like especially when Tobey Maguire cites Michael Caine's line at the end about
Yeah.
princes of of Maine, Kings of New England, or I've got that flipped.
No, you got it right.
I'm like, "Ah!" It was really, really good.
Yeah.
And earned.
One of the things that I really do like about the movie, again, was the pacing of it. If it had gone too quicker, it would not have worked. If it had gone slower, it would have been too bogged down. The attention, each scene, it's a scene study. Each scene gives you what you need to move on to the next thing.
Yes.
It builds on the other things. Even when you are taken suddenly and Toby goes on his journey and starts a different life with the apple picking, the amount of attention that was paid there and the character development that was done there
Yeah.
was just the right amount, while still touching base with what was happening at the orphanage every once
Yeah.
in a while to keep the overall story moving forward. It was
Yeah.
just very well paced.
And the nurses are two phenomenal character actresses.
Yeah.
And they had very little to work with, but you also knew who they were and what, how they got there and what their beliefs were.
And there might be something going on with one of those nurses and the doctor.
Oh, there's absolutely something going on with Callie Baker.
I was being
Yeah,
kind.
yeah, there's absolutely something going on. And I'm like, there might be with the other one. We don't see it, but
No.
it doesn't escape the possibility.
No.
So, and
yeah.
good for all of them.
Yes, so I definitely enjoy this movie. I would not object to seeing it again in like 10 years or something. But the main point that I wanted to make is for all of you that think this was a nice little quaint movie,
No,
rethink it, go watch it again because it is not.
you should actually read the book because it's fantastic. And there's a whole other storyline we don't get to where Tobey Maguire and Charlize Theron have a child together.
Oh,
And that child becomes part of the Rose storyline, so it's really good.
okay.
Yep. So many more years pass in the book than they do in the movie.
Yeah, it is a very
Yeah.
shortened period.
Because I kept waiting for their kid to show up, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's not in this movie. Never mind.
All right, shall we move on to The Green Mile?
Let's do it.
All right, The Green Mile, written and directed by Frank Darabont, based on the 1996 novel by Stephen King, stars Tom Hanks, David Morse, Michael Clark Duncan, Bonnie Hunt, James Cromwell, Michael Jeter, Graham Greene, Doug Hutchinson, Sam Rockwell, Barry Pepper. Nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Duncan, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Sound. Sadly did not win anything.
All right, The Green Mile summary is a death row guard learns that a gentle giant in his charge possesses a mysterious gift. So, of the fun facts, you may know this one, and I did not. So, Michael Clark Duncan was a bodyguard before he went into acting, and he was Notorious B.I.G.'s bodyguard.
Oh.
Was supposed to
Didn't know
be
that.
on schedule the night that he died.
Oh.
Switched with a friend, and that's why he got out of the bodyguard business, because he was so upset about what happened and the fact that on his watch Biggie died. So
Wow.
I did not know that.
I didn't either, and he probably would not be here if that was the case.
Absolutely. So, and if you Google it, it's a bunch of different times of him telling that story.
Although he is so big, he does kind of seem invincible. Like, bullets may really bounce off
They,
him.
they very well might, exactly. And then the only other piece, which was surprising but not when I thought about it, the role was actually first offered to Shaquille O'Neal.
That doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me when you look at,
I'm
again, the
glad
physicality.
he didn't do it, but
Me too. Me too. And of course, this was Sam Rockwell's first major part.
Yeah.
So he'd been in a bunch of movies as, on his IMDb, I looked it up, he was thug number 1 in the movie Basquiat. So he's been in a lot and had been on a lot of TV, but this was his first role that people noticed him.
yeah, and he did amazing. Like,
Oh my God, he was good.
made you really hate that person.
Yeah.
We'll dive into all of those kind of things. So this is the second Stephen King thing that Frank Darabont had done. Done Shawshank just a year or two before.
Yeah.
Did a couple after, and then notoriously, he started out adapting the Walking Dead television series, got basically screwed over with that, and then left, and then didn't do anything for years.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He apparently is coming back with another adaptation within a year or two,
Ooh.
but he hadn't done anything since 2007, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay, interesting.
All right, so I'm gonna start out hitting pretty heavy with the praise. This to me is a great example of how to tell a story and tell a story well. The way that everything is set up, the pacing, the beats that you hit, while it does have problems, which I can talk about,
Yep.
the overall story that is being told, and I can see some people walking away and being like, what was the point of that? But the story that is being told, a guy telling his friend later on in life, a story of a particular year of his life, all of that I think was beautifully executed. Frank has that gentle kind of touch to things. Things are never really super over the top. They can get intense, but they're never like heavy-handed. And for this particular adaptation, I think he was absolutely the right director to tell this story.
I agree with you. I really enjoyed the kind of arc of the story, how it was told. I loved the beginning setup. It was a little bit like Forrest Gump in that I'm sitting here and I'm telling you your story. One of the things I thought about, and I don't know if it's the case or not, but so the actor who played the older Tom Hanks is Darby something, I forgot his name, but he's Reverend Alden from Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, didn't know that, okay.
Okay, so that's funny because my thought was, like, he was, for, you know, a lot of people in that time frame, growing up, like, the kind, gentle, wonderful, like, that actor, not only did he somewhat look like Tom Hanks, but it made sense the moment he was on screen, there's a gentleness to him that I think comes across in his performance, and so, again, you kind of know where this story is going, that it's gonna be an interesting tale that he's gonna tell, so I really liked that, the way that they started with him, and I liked the way they told the story. I did think it was too long. I think, and there are very specific places, especially where I think it needed to be trimmed, but all in all, it did not have to be a 3-hour movie.
To me, I think you're right, it is a long movie. To me, it does not feel long. There are a couple moments here or there where it drags on for a little bit, but I'm okay with those. So I wouldn't do like Deer Hunter, massive editing of like take a half hour out of this movie. I wouldn't do that. But I can understand how some people would. I like slower movies that you get to sit in and be in. So I don't mind spending a little bit of extra time in those because that's something that I enjoy overall. As much as I love a big budget action movie, I do like spending and sitting in moments.
And there were several things that needed, there was a lot of repetition, but it needed to happen because you needed to see how is an execution supposed to happen, and then how does it go terribly wrong, and then we want to see, what happens to John Coffey. So like there was a lot of things that you saw over and over again, but I do think those were necessary to the story.
Yep, I agree. All right, so one of the things I want to talk about, because I don't think when this movie comes up, even though he was nominated for Best Supporting, I don't think Michael gets enough credit for what he was able to do with the role he was given. Because in other hands and with a different director, this could come off very stereotyped, it could come off amazingly flat, particularly with the language that he has to use, which already has some form of like, it's not quite racist language, but it is...
It ain't great.
Yeah, and because of the limited language, because he's supposed to be an ignorant person, because of the limited language, this could go wrong and off the rails so many different ways. But between the two of them, I think all of that was handled exactly the way it should have been, and major depth given to a character that probably, I don't know about you, I have not read the Stephen King version.
I haven't either, no.
But I've read from people who have read it that character's pretty flat and racist in the book.
Well, and also, he didn't have very many big scenes.
No.
I mean, like, really at the end is his big moment, which I thought he did beautifully. But in the very small scenes that you saw of him that, like when he got tired, when he was afraid of the dark, when he kind of helped the warden's wife, all of those were such very small moments with him. And I agree, I thought he was great.
Yeah. And
I would say that of the two, he was better than Michael Caine.
Yes, I would agree. And again, a lot of this movie is so dependent on his performance of it. If it had come across as flat, if it had come across as slightly racist or stereotypy, this movie would have completely fallen apart. And the other characters could have done not a greater job or even a better job, and it wouldn't have been as much of an impact. But his character is so central to the story, even though it's not, they're not on screen for a long period of time. It is so essential to get this aspect right for this story to work. And they nailed it. They fucking nailed it.
I thought he did a great job.
You're not keeping on the praise as much as I am, and that's fine.
I liked this movie. I don't think I loved it the way that you did.
I don't love it. I just think it's an incredibly well-told tale. I think all of the characters, except for really Tom, have, and you get depth to them. Even some of the secondary prison guards, you really do get a sense of that they are individuals.
Oh, absolutely, and especially often the wives role are just so minimal, and in this part first of all you had two incredible actresses. You had Bonnie Hunt and Patricia Clarkson, who are amazing actresses, but they had very, very small roles.
Yep.
You knew who they were, what was important to them, what their motivation was, and in just scenes.
Yep.
So I thought that it was absolutely great. It was interesting too, the actors that they chose. It feels like as we're watching a lot of these best picture movies in a row, we're seeing like the stable of best picture character actors that are in all of them. So you've got like James Cromwell and Bonnie Hunt and Gary Sinise and just tons of these actors show up. But then, and you've got Barry Pepper, who I thought did an amazing job. Again, why have we not seen more Barry Pepper? This is the second time in a row I'm saying this. He was a young guy who had a family and was just sobbing and had to be professional and do his job. And in those moments, he just did a beautiful job.
I think the fantastical elements of the story are handled appropriately and just the right amount. This is not a superhero film. These are odd circumstances that people find themselves in with some person who can do miraculous things, and then it's the exploration of, well, what do you do with that? How do you handle that? What do you do? Do you believe? All of that. And I think all of that was handled correctly. It was not overhyped. It was not underplayed. It was just like, this is what it is. Are we seeing what we're seeing? Are we understanding what we're seeing? Oh, and we can do something about this, which I enjoyed all
that.
that.
You can use this gift
Yes.
to help somebody. One of the problems with that, though, is you had the four guards who were kind and patient men and really gave respect to these men who were in their charge, even though they did not deserve respect sometimes. But they were again kind and patient. And then you've got Percy, who is the bad man. It was a little bit too, I'm wearing the white hat, I'm wearing the black hat.
Really?
It really was, yeah.
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of gray in the characters. There were the good men and the bad men.
Okay.
And it was Sam Rockwell and Percy were the bad men, and everybody else were good men.
See, I thought that was done intentionally because it is kind of a morality play in a way.
Yeah,
and
it comes off as a fairy tale, but
Yeah.
do we want this movie to be a fairy tale?
I think it works that way. I
Okay.
think the aspect of it not being grounded 100% in reality, that there are these supernatural elements, for lack of a better term, that are at play, that having things be a little bit more clear-cut and clear design are good. And first off, props to the person who played Percy, because he is the most hated character.
It's horrible and great.
And only a good actor can make you hate someone that much.
I absolutely agree, yes.
So props to him.
Yeah, he's definitely a sadist. I mean, he is just a terrible person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those the clear distinctions between those are necessary. The reveal at the end that Billy the Kid's character was tied with Michael, I mean, that is convenient, but it's also necessary.
Yeah.
But it is incredibly convenient.
Of course it is. Of course it's convenient.
And the transfer I liked as well, because you get two with one.
I had forgotten how brutal and surprising that moment was until it hit again.
And I had forgotten the entire time, because it's the only third time I've seen it, when he goes and saves the wife and takes everything from her, and he's just choking and choking and choking.
Yeah.
The assumption is that it's just too much. He's taken on too much.
He's holding it.
Yeah, he's holding it because he wants to give it to a particular person who's going to give it to somebody else.
Yep. I had forgotten that as well, and I thought that was really, really well done.
Overall, I think, again, this is just an incredibly well-told story with all of the elements supporting the story that is being told and doing it absolutely the way they should. I don't think this is an amazing movie. I think this is a really, really good movie.
I agree. I think it's a really, really good movie. I think it's an interesting story, and it's thought provoking of what would you do in the situation where you could end this person's life or not end their life, and kind of what Tom Hanks said too is like, what am I going to do when I meet my maker and tell him I did my job? You know, that is very thought-provoking of where is morality and where is legality, and that's things to be thinking about today.
The only thing I don't like, and this is just a me thing in the writing of it, John Coffey's character at the end is like, I'm done, I'm tired, I can't do it because the world is such a horrible place, I can't take it anymore.
Yep.
And even living in the times that we're living in at this moment, 2025, where the world does seem like it's on fire,
Yep.
I don't think that's to be the case. I don't think that the world itself is such a horrible place. I think there is good all over. It just gets not talked about, it gets hidden, it gets masked by all of the bad. So that is a choice. I understand it, but I'm like, I disagree with that as a statement, and I always will.
But if you are a person who cannot mask from the bad, and the bad comes at you and you feel the bad,
yeah, no, 100%.
then I can understand his choices.
I understand it entirely.
Yeah.
It's just a statement that I have trouble swallowing. I can understand why someone would believe it, particularly him. It's just a statement that I don't like.
Yeah, nope, I can understand that. I did want to talk a little bit about the 3 different electrocutions because I thought that those were shown brilliantly. I mean, like the first one is the way an execution is supposed to go well.
Yes.
It's awful, it's brutal, they did not shy away from that. He didn't die the first time, they had to kill him again, or they had to juice him again. It was awful, and it went textbook.
Yep.
And so I liked that they showed that this is a brutal experience, and this is horrible, and all of that. And then obviously the second one was sabotaged, so it really could not have gone worse. And it was terrible and gross, and they did not shy away from that either. And then for John Coffey, you never saw it. You just saw the sadness and the grief and the overwhelming feelings in the eyes of the guards, which I liked the way they handled each of the 3 of those.
So, question for you. This is just a
Yeah.
sappy, sentimental one, but everybody, when I was reading people's comments about it, almost to a T, everybody was like, I forgot how emotional this movie was, cheered up like a little child when they went to put the cover over him, and he's like, please don't do that because, I'm afraid of the dark, or whatever the official
I'm
line
afraid
was.
of the dark, yeah.
Did that line get you?
Oh, I cried through it. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right.
I am not a good test, though, because as I experienced over these movies, I cry at everything. One thing I didn't like about his march to the chair, though, it was a little bit of a Braveheart moment for me of, we know where we're going, we know what's gonna happen, we know he's gonna die in the chair. It was too long to get there to that moment. It was just a little bit too long for me.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I disagree only in that the moments that it took and the conversations that were happening to kind of do the contrast of the hate that was being thrown at him by the people versus the respect and love of the people that were actually going through the process for him. I think that was necessary to get those lines in to help reinforce so that he could sit in the chair and do the thing he wanted to do. But that's a me choice.
No, I can see that, but it was just a little bit too long. We know where we're going, so let's just get there.
Let's just kill him.
Let's just get there. And the shaking of the hand at the last moment was so beautiful.
Yeah, okay.
I
I was
cried
gonna
at
say
that.
like that one was a little over the top for me. Out
Really?
of all of it, that was
Oh,
like a
okay.
little over the top.
Well,
I'm
again,
fine with it. It was just a little over the top.
it was an emotionally manipulative movie.
Yes.
I do think it was. But I didn't mind it. You know what's happening, and you just run with it.
All right, I have nothing else.
I have nothing else.
All right, moving
What's up
on
next?
to The Insider.
Alrighty.
The Insider, directed by Michael Mann, written by Mann and Eric Roth, based on Marie Brenner's 1996 Vanity Fair article, The Man Who Knew Too Much. Stars Al Pacino, Russell Crowe, Christopher Plummer, Bruce McGill, Diane Venora, and Michael Gambon. Nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Crowe, Best Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Sound. Your synopsis.
And it didn't win anything, right?
No.
Okay, alright.
Sorry, it did not win anything.
Okay, so the summary is a research chemist comes under personal and professional attack when he decides to appear on a 60 Minutes expose of big tobacco. So fun facts, Mike Wallace hated this movie. Unsurprisingly, he was not really shown in a great light, so that's not a surprise. And then the other piece is there were 2 people in the movie who actually played themselves.
Oh,
One
okay.
of them was Mike Moore, the Attorney General for Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
Was played in the movie by himself.
Interesting.
And then when Mike Wallace and Al Pacino walk into a restaurant, Christopher Plummer turns and says, "Oh, hi, Tony." And the gentleman he was saying hi Tony to was Tony Balco, who was Lowell Bergman's regular editor and edited most of his stories. And so he got a little cameo in the movie.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, what you think?
Overall, I think this was well crafted. There are certain things that I think they did incredibly well. Ultimately, it's forgettable, and I don't care if I ever see it again.
All right, we're done.
Pretty much.
No, so two things I do want to bring up. So,
Okay.
so one of I agree with you completely. I thought it was kind of a thriller. The pacing was really good. I thought it was fun to watch, and I'm glad that I watched it. Two things I do want to discuss. The first one is this was a highly fictionalized account, and everybody says it was a highly fictionalized account.
Kind of like a JFK version.
Exactly. That bothers me a little bit when it is supposed to be showing and depicting things that actually happened.
Sure.
I just don't know where the, kind of where the line is of what is real, what isn't real when you're talking history. And so that bothered me. The one thing I love about this movie is Christopher Plummer's performance.
Yeah, he was really good.
He didn't rely on prosthetics. He did not look a lot like Mike Wallace, but he had the voice and he had the mannerisms that when I saw him, like if I had seen him doing a scene, especially the scene of him interviewing Russell Crowe, I would have said, oh yeah, he's playing Mike Wallace,
Yep.
Not knowing another thing about it. You could see it and it wasn't a caricature.
No, you're right. I just instantly bought into it because his portrayal was so good, and I never really picked up on the fact of how different the two of them actually do look. They do not look alike.
At all, exactly.
No, you're right. Yeah,
and
I
he
just
didn't
never
have
picked
like
up on it.
the fake nose or the this or the that. He'd like styled his hair and called it a day.
So, Michael Mann movies for me they're fine. They're usually big budget action films, and the suspension of disbelief every time you watch a Michael Mann movie is very large. You're going in, things are not going to make sense, both with things like physics and gravity. Like those things are just not going to make sense for things. And that's fine. I can go into those and I can walk away like, that was a great little popcorn movie.
Sure.
Ambulance being a very classic example.
I have not seen it.
Oh, it is
But I heard
a
it's fun.
fun, ridiculously over-the-top ride.
I like that.
So, he has a very particular style. There's lots of quick cuts, quick
Sure.
edits. You don't linger in moments. You get your dialogue out. You move on to the next thing. That's just the way his style is. And for this, I don't think that works necessarily for the storytelling, because uncharacteristic of him, he does try to have you sit in moments longer.
Yes.
And it doesn't work because it's not his style.
Okay, that makes sense, because there were some places that just felt a little uncomfortably long.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
I will say that the movie very early on picks a side and runs with that. It
Yes.
it is not, you make up your own mind, audience, we're giving you everything.
No.
It is like, this is big tobacco bad.
Yes, exactly.
And move forward.
Russell Crowe has the information to bring down big tobacco. Will he be able to use it? Because everyone's going to try to convince him not to.
Yes.
What did you think about the very beginning of the movie? Because beginnings are important to you.
Yes, it was odd to start. I mean, I understand what it was doing. It was establishing character.
Yes.
And the almost laissez-faire attitudes towards bad situations that he has. So I got it, but I thought it was unnecessary.
And it had nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
No.
That definitely bothered
That was
me.
the only thing I think was just to establish his character.
Oh, absolutely. Here's what I do, here's how I react to these things. I'm gonna, I don't care that I'm being blindfolded and carried into some sheik's
I'm
layout.
Al Pacino, damn it.
Exactly, it's all good. So I didn't care for that. But it was a fun watch, I would say. Don't ever need to see it again.
So, one of the things that I disliked about it, and it's not the performance, I honestly think that it was a miscasting
Okay.
or just miscommunication with the directorial choices. I don't think that Russell Crowe's performance in this is any good. And I don't think that is because of him as an actor. Because we have seen in his career him play a wide range of roles and do brilliantly in a lot of them. In this one, the demure kind of attitude that he has, I think was a poor acting choice.
Oh, see, I actually really liked it because I thought it was, he was demure on the surface, but underneath he was an angry, violent man.
Yes, and it's established that he has rage issues.
Exactly. So I thought that it was the demure was all the character acting. And so I thought that Russell Crowe was actually like acting as a person who's like, I'm trying to hold this all in, and I can't. So I thought that that was his choice, was almost the character falsely acting.
That may be.
I liked his
Whichever way,
performance. It didn't work for you.
It did not work for me. With all of the hyper intensity of the people around, I can understand, I guess, kind of why they would do it. Everybody else is so incredibly intense. Everybody else is so intense that you have a character that you can kind of, as an audience member, latch onto because they're calmer.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it. I didn't feel that I could latch on to him as a character. Maybe it's because we knew under the surface he could erupt at any particular point in time.
And he didn't.
Right. Or maybe it was just like the having that character navigate all this hyper intensity just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm saying, I think that was a directorial choice that was given to Russell, and he did what he was told. Because I do really like Russell as an actor. I like his action a little bit more than I like some of his other things.
Agree.
But he's a good, solid, decent, above average actor.
Agree.
Who we have seen be able to pull off a wealth of emotions throughout his career. I just didn't. This one, I couldn't latch onto it. I didn't like it.
No, I liked it. I thought it worked for me, but I understand what you're saying. The thing that didn't work for me, as it doesn't work for many of the movies of this time, and I understand it's the movie of this time, is like the one female role is the nagging wife who, like, oh, I only care about the price of the house, and oh my goodness. She had like 5 lines and then she was dispatched off with the children, or, the Debbie role where she's like, here, would you like your clippings? Can I make you another, airline reservation? So again, and I think that's true for Michael Mann. He just does not work with women, does not know how to work with women.
That very well could be the case, the one thing I think the movie did do a good job of, although it was kind of hitting you over the head, is the aspect that this is the rise of litigation factoring into how things operate and work within the country.
Yes.
So many times the lawsuit is the thing that matters, and that's the reason people are making their decisions. So they did a really good job of having that explained, sometimes overly explained to you as an audience member, so you can understand why the decisions were happening and how important litigation was in this overall entire thing. They did a decent job with that, so I'll give props there.
I agree, and especially in the realm of news. We cannot actually tell you the news sometimes because we're more worried about our ratings, our litigation, our sales, that kind of stuff.
So overall this was fine. I had no problem watching it. I'm not asking for my time back.
Exactly.
But I'm done. I'm good.
And here's another kind of statement about it is, I know that I went to see this in the theater when it came out. I did not remember a thing about it when I watched it again.
That's a Michael Mann movie. They're very forgettable.
Kind of forgettable. So.
All right, let's forget this one and move on to The Sixth Sense.
All right, let's do it. I like that. You forgot about it. Very nice.
All right, Sixth Sense. Written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Directorial debut. Stars Bruce Willis, Toni Collette, Olivia Williams, Haley Joel Osment, and Donnie Wahlberg. It's nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay for Shyamalan, Best Supporting Actor for Osment, and Best Supporting Actress for Collette. Nobody won anything.
All right, so the summary is, after being shot by a resentful former patient whom he failed to help, a Philadelphia child psychologist seeks redemption by treating a young boy with a disturbing secret.
Very nice.
This is the first one that is on the AFI list. It's over 89 on the AFI list. So, fun facts, I think a lot of people know that Bruce Willis was forced to be in this movie. He did not want to be in this movie. He had shut down production on another Disney movie because he didn't like the director, and so he had to fulfill his contract, and he had to fulfill it with the movies they chose. And so it was this one and the movie Disney's The Kid, which he was also in, which is a terrible movie that I will tell you a story about offline.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's very interesting. Is one of his best roles, I think. He was didn't want to be in. Also, he learned to write with his right hand. Bruce is a lefty.
Okay.
Because he did not want the audience to see he was not wearing a wedding ring too soon in the movie.
Ah.
And so when he was writing his notes, he learned how to write with his right hand. And then the last one is Haley Joel Osment. So his sister, if you watch the TV show Young Sheldon or Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, His younger sister is the actress that plays Mandy, who has been on those TV shows. And she's an actress you would actually probably recognize. I had no idea they were siblings.
Oh, okay.
So, check it out.
So, this movie has become part of the lexicon now when you talk about movies. The sixth sense of it all. It has a sixth sense reveal, those kind of things. M. Night Shyamalan becomes very notorious for these in all of his movies, but this was the first one.
Right.
This is also, we've talked about this before with movies like Predestination, where it is a movie that once you see it and you get the reveal, you almost instantly want to go back to make sure everything holds up. I've seen this 4 or 5 times. I've scrutinized it. There is not a moment where this movie does not hold up to the reveal at the end.
Agreed.
At all. You know that M. Night had been writing and tweaking this for years before he was given the shot to actually go and film it.
Yes.
But I just wanted to acknowledge that part up front. This movie is now part of the lexicon of movies.
So can I share my rewatch experience,
Yeah.
which was the most fun, because when I saw this back in the day, it had already been spoiled for me. So when I saw the movie, I knew what it was. I watched the rewatch with my 23-year-old nephew who did not know the secret. And so throughout the movie, he had always heard of The Sixth Sense and heard of the reveal, and he thought the reveal was I see dead people. He thought that was the twist that everyone kept talking about. So literally, so I was watching it with him, and I was watching him watch it. So much fun. Literally like 2 minutes before the big reveal, he turns and he goes, "Is the doctor dead?" And I'm like, "Yes, he is." So it was really fun to watch it with somebody who did not know what the reveal is.
Yeah, that is the fun of this movie the first time. But again, a lot of movies will suffer from rewatches. This one doesn't, because you can go back and then like really pay attention to it, knowing what the reveal actually is.
Yes.
So the movie almost begs to be watched more than once, which I think is fantastic. There are a lot of M. Night Shyamalan movies that have that major twist. Only one does not. And most of them I don't go back anymore to see how well crafted they were, because I don't care. This one I did. I almost instantly went back and saw it to see does all of that hold up, and of course it does. For Bruce not wanting to do this, he does a really, really good job.
It's one of my favorite performances. Die Hard is on the mountain, but this is one of my favorite performances of his.
And he obviously developed a good relationship, because he went on to be in 3 other movies.
Yep.
Three other movies with M. Night Shyamalan. So good on them. They must have developed some sort of decent relationship. Either that, or he was like, "I'll just be whatever you want me to, man. I don't care." Because he towards the latter part of his career, he was just doing tons of crap movies.
Exactly. You can't find a misstep in this movie.
No.
That's the thing. So interestingly, one of my least favorite parts of the movie, I know why he did it. So like one of my least favorite parts is the fade ins and the fade outs. I don't care for those. I just don't like the way it almost looks like it's fading to commercial. It looks very TV for me. But I understand it's because Bruce can't open a door. You need to come to him where he is. And once you understand that, it makes a lot of sense. So even the things I don't necessarily like, I understand why they're done. And they're done so very purposefully. Everything in this is so purposeful.
And there's a certain, normally with this kind of film, and that seems dismissive, and I don't mean it that way, but there is more depth to this story than you would naturally expect for, we'll call it a supernatural thriller with a twist.
Sure.
Like, there is a lot of depth to what is happening. And that's one of the things that I was doing this time, rewatching it, is take away the ending, okay? Let's pretend that he's not dead and this is just a film, and we're going to cut out the last 45 seconds of the movie when the reveal happens. Is it a solid movie without that? Or does the movie only work because of the ending and you want to go back?
Right.
So this time through, I was just watching the structure. And I'm proud to say, it's not a great movie without the ending, but it is a solid movie without the ending. Yeah.
I would think that it would hold up. Yeah.
And that's what I was doing this time, was watching just to see, is the vast majority of this movie well crafted without that twist, or does everything rely on the twist?
Yeah.
And it does. That's what makes it fantastic, but it still holds up on its own.
Yeah. I love the Toni Collette character.
Yes.
I think that first of all, her performance is spectacular, but the role of the mother is, she is just trying so hard to connect with her child, to give him a good life, to make everything okay, and just dealing with all the demands of the world, let alone his situation, what's happening with him. And I thought she was a wonderful character.
I was using a line that you used for Hugh Grant, and I just wrote the fucking Toni Collette of it all.
Absolutely.
I first saw her in Muriel's Wedding.
Me too.
And instantly fell in love with her then. And I had no idea what she was capable of, but I was like, there's something about you. So everything she has ever done, if I hear she's in something, I watch it. I've watched 2 horror movies she's been in because she was in them, and I fucking hate horror.
She's one to watch.
She is. The series that she did,
Oh, yeah. Tara?
United States of Terror.
That's it, yeah.
Where she plays 7 or 8 different people. Amazing. She, no matter what you give her, no matter how little you give to her or so much, and I've seen her in things where she had a lot to work with and things where she did not have a lot at all, she will own every single moment of it and make you believe entirely who she is. In this, you do believe that she is a mom who is struggling with just life in general, but also trying really, really hard to still love her son, who is obviously having some mental issues at this particular moment in time.
Exactly.
So yeah, she helps carry this through. She's perfectly cast as the mom. She plays trashy just enough.
Yes, like her clothes are just this side of what you see the other moms wear.
She's not a trashy person, but she is like, you know that mom. You know that mom. So yes, the Toni Collette of it all.
Yeah, nope, she is spectacular in this.
So there are a couple scenes that are scrutinized once you know the reveal. The restaurant scene being probably the biggest one. Obviously it holds up, and the crafting of it is very well. I'd forgotten this time around that at the end they give you a hint right before, which is probably why your nephew picked up on it, because they replay a lot of those scenes very quickly before they get to the end of it. I almost wish that they would take that out because it would have a bigger impact, but I get why they're there.
Where my nephew figured it out was when Cole says to Bruce Willis's character, if you can't communicate with your wife, you should try talking to her in her dreams. You should try talking to her while she's asleep. She might be able to hear you then. And that's when he figured out.
Yeah.
So he figured out about a step before I did, or before most people did, because they usually figure it out in that montage.
The Haley Joel Osment of it all.
Oh, amazing.
What a difficult role to pull off as a child. We've seen child actors do amazing things before, but in particular, this one, to be able to play the balance that he plays with his mom, of recognizing that his mom is struggling with the things that he knows are real, but he can't tell her.
Yes.
That recognition of playing the balance of those two things. And then, of course, in retrospect, when you see him going through Bruce Willis's character, and it is Bruce Willis's character who shows him, this is what these people want, you need to help him. And once he realizes that, like, oh, then I just need to help you as well. That balance that he plays while being a child, playing a child, but with all this emotional depth on top, amazing. I can't believe he wasn't nominated.
I think he was.
Was he?
Check your sheet. I think he was. But also the when he first meets Bruce.
Oh, he was. You're right.
Yeah, when he first meets Bruce Willis, that's when it's really interesting, because going back and knowing that this guy is a ghost and I don't want to talk to him and I want to avoid him, and like that whole running through the whole scenes where he knows he's a ghost but Bruce Willis doesn't know he's a ghost. That's when that acting really, really sparks. I still would give it to Michael Clark Duncan, though, best supporting actor of the 3 we've talked about.
Yeah,
As good an actor as this kid is.
This time I couldn't help but think, though, like the trauma of living this child's life.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I could do it. I would probably go mentally insane.
You'd be Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah.
but I mean, like, really, that's, what I had forgotten until I watched it the other day was that Donnie Wahlberg's character also saw dead people. I forgot the connection.
Yeah, it's very easy to forget because though he's a catalyst, he's such a blip in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Great movie.
Fantastic, loved it.
All right.
2 thumbs up. Do you have anything else on that?
I have nothing else on that.
Okay. All right, I'm going to do my guess, and say that you disagree with the Academy, that American Beauty should not have won, and I'm not 100%, but I'm mostly sure you're going with Sixth Sense.
I am not.
Ooh.
I'm going with Cider House Rules.
Really? Okay, it was
Yep.
a coin flip for me between the two.
All right, I am going for you don't think American Beauty should have won,
Correct.
and you think it should have been Sixth Sense.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, so we get a half a clap?
Half of it.
Okay, that works.
All right, as always, let us know what you think, and until next time.